See, we misinterpret life when the lights are off and the path is unclear. What do I mean by this? Well, imagine being in a dark room, right? Sitting by yourself in pitch black, having no idea what's around you. Every direction is uncertain. Certainly be a troubling feeling, fear-inducing. But what it doesn't mean is the content within the room is insufficient for what you need. It doesn't mean that you need to go somewhere else to find your answers or that you fail. It means that you simply have to turn on the light. What you need is right next to you, you just are not seeing it. And that is the point.
What is existence? What is consciousness? Well, come awaken from your egoic material slumber into the conscious cell of the infinite universal organism. It's time to take a hero's journey to the exploration of consciousness. On your way to a cosmic voyage through reality in search of the truth. On a quest for your highest and best use. And now, your captain on this organic spaceship we call Earth, John M. Polak.
Welcome to Highest and Best Use, that divine pathway of growth. Today, I have with me Sergey Baranov. Sergey is an author of Path, Seeking Truth in a World of Lies, The Mescaline Confession, Breaking Through the Walls of Delusion, and The Cactus of Sanity, Wachuma, in a Time of Chaos. Sergey is also the founder of Wachuma Wasi, a healing center in the Sacred Valley of Peru. I'd like to thank you, Sergey, for being on here at such last-minute notice that I provided you just late last week. I hit you up with the holiday chaos and such, but I'm not trying to make excuses for myself. I just want to honor the fact that you wanted to come on and talk about growth. So, my friend, let me just ask you, your journey has been quite an interesting one and has led to what seems to me, looking in from the outside, your purpose and actualization of that. And that's basically what the show is all about. So wherever you think appropriate, man, where did you get the call to adventure to begin your life's journey into purpose and now home, where you are in Peru?
Thank you for having me, John. Delighted to talk to you again. Well, my story is long and I have to start a bit far to get to the point where we are now. I born in Ukraine, and at the age of 12, we moved to Israel with my parents. And then from there, I began my spiritual search that led me to the United States. And from the United States, I moved to Peru, where I live today, where I have family and work with plant medicine. To answer your question, when did it begin? That's really hard. I feel that I actually born with this, with the calling. I remember myself very young, 2.5, 3 years old, starting my wander through life. And then at about 5 years old, I was thinking about how to bring my consciousness through death. Mm-hmm. So that was very, just when you're 5 years old, you don't think about consciousness, death, you're starting your journey here. So obviously I didn't find any resonance, from my parents and, in the kindergarten. It just was me asking big questions and kind of living with it and growing through. So I can say that it started then, but of course, as I matured and, I started reading early on, and that helped a lot. It was the sci-fi books that really kind of ignited my spiritual surge that was already there, but was fanned by the books. And when we moved to Israel, that was like a first crisis in my life. It's early age immigration, and you kind of leave everything behind, and then you go to another country, another culture, where you don't feel belong. You don't understand the language. You don't understand anything. You just feel like you've been like a plant that was just, rooted out and just put it somewhere in a different soil, in different climate. So it started some kind of crisis, like I would say, early crisis around 13 and a half. And this is when I started really, it was kind of a depressing time in a sense, when I started to really ask, what's all about, what's my life about, and what's the purpose of it? And here I am in a new environment, and what's next for me, where all this goes. So as a young, teenager, it was a period of contemplation that kind of led me to, of course, more reading, and then later on, a few years later on, I came to psychedelics, and that's where things started to really unfold for me, So it was a combination of life path, spiritual seeking, immigration, psychedelics, and books that kind of formed the new identity that was already more aware of itself and knowing, not knowing the path, but seeking the path with more certainty,
Right. Those are really good points. There's a lot in there I could riff on. But yeah, I'd just like to touch on the last series of elements you put forth, which was that it wasn't any one thing. And I think that's a hyper true statement to make, very honest as well, just of yourself, to be able to recognize that and say that it isn't. It's not that way in life that we usually get just one specific thing. Don't get me wrong. There could be really big moments of wake up, so forth and so on. Just as a kind of side note on that, I think I really got my call to adventure with like a big call, so to speak, like a big breadcrumb for myself. I sat essentially in a meditation. I didn't even know what meditation was at that point in my life. I was fresh out of high school, just kind of trying to figure things out as a young man in the world. And out of frustration and a lack of direction in my life, I just sunk into a spontaneous state of blankness within my mind. And I got essentially the voice that said, pursue this. It happened to be aviation for me, which started sort of my life path journey in the world and society. And then that led me to psychedelics, to exploring spirituality, and now basically to turning into a born again Christian. That was the heavy ball I was going to drop on you on there. So that's sort of where my journey is taking me, man, or it is. But anyway, not to talk all about myself. I'm just saying that there's never any one thing within the cycle that you can look back to and say that was absolutely it. Usually it's this big combination of things that come together. And the other point about what you said that I really would like to hit on was that it is a path of basically constant questioning and searching in order to try to find that capital T truth for yourself. And this is a theme I know you share with me. It's that we never really own the truth, right? That capital T truth, but we can know of its existence, its objective existence, and work and struggle and proceed into it to the best of our ability. And it just seems like when you're doing that, you're finding alignment, right? And I would go so far as to say that's sort of like stepping into your purpose if you carry those tasks out in the world. So what do you think about that endpoint, how pursuing truth leads to purpose?
I think that's exactly how it works, because when you pursue truth, you don't know what truth is.
Right.
You just have that feeling that there is something out there beyond the matter that you want to understand, but you don't know it, you don't see it. So this seeking, at least that's how it was in my case. This seeking itself was some kind of a self-generating engine that kind of pushed me forward. It's not like you find something and you feel, okay, now I know everything and I can relax. It's not like that. You're just peeling the layers of truth. You find something and you understand more and you feel that you got closer to truth, but it's not the whole entire truth. So it's a search, it's a seeking. It's not a destination, really. It's a process. It's a process of asking and contemplating and seeking and finally knowing that grows in itself too. And the purpose is something that I discovered later on. That was already when I came to the plant medicine. That was kind of revealed to me gradually, but that was kind of a second part of seeking. The seeking of truth led me to Peru, led me to spirituality, of course, first, and then to Peru, to plant medicine. But then when I embraced that already with full heart and with full dedication, commitment, then the purpose just kind of, it just become clear, it just become evident, It's just, here you are, that's what you here to do, it wasn't even something great like lightning from the sky and you just have the Moses moment. It wasn't like that for me. It was just like a natural, logical consequences of everything I have done in life and all the struggles I fought within myself and all the battles I won and lost, It was just, here I am and this is it, and that's where my heart feels at peace, And that's how you know that you are on your path. It's when you feel that inner peace. You are at peace with yourself. You're not. It's not like the road has ended for you. Not at all. It just started, but you feel like you have arrived in a place where you can now walk with heart and everything is okay. You have that feeling.
I do. I know that feeling. Absolutely. That is, in a frequency, I guess, what I think highest and best use is, which I think is your purpose. And I think that simultaneously is the fulfillment of your divine plan, your surrender to the divine plan. I think then naturally and inevitably leads to finding your purpose. And I love the way you described that from your lens. You kind of just said it wasn't necessarily a grand epiphany. It was like, oh, of course, I've been doing this for a while. I've been pursuing the truth to the best of my ability and capacity. And now here I am. And I see the self-evident forecast of what the next step or whatever might be. So I guess that is how the journey goes. But I'd specifically like to ask you about the plant medicine. So what exact role did they start playing for you in you uncovering your purpose?
Well, meeting the plant medicine was like being born again. Literally, after everything I have done in my life, and I had done plenty of drugs in my youth and psychedelics, and I always was seeking and trying to get better tools to understand myself and the world, So I wasn't really a newbie to this. I just was new to plant medicine and the whole shamanic culture behind that. But I wasn't new really to an altered state of consciousness, So I was somewhat prepared in a sense, but at the same time, with all this preparation or preparedness that I thought I had, I was completely taken by surprise when I found myself in Iquitos in 2005 drinking ayahuasca. It was something so big that I got a feeling that I stumbled upon something very big and very old and very real, and that's actually what I was looking for throughout my life, throughout my search. I wanted to find something that is real, something that I can stare at and never get bored, something that I can contemplate and never, and always find new meanings and wisdom, And that's how it was for me to begin from ayahuasca, and then it was Wachuma, and then it was peyote, and maybe we can talk about this as we progress here. But it was it was a total shock. I was shattered to the core of my soul by this experience, and it's hard to explain the feeling when your whole identity just melts away. You just been taken apart, you just been like dismembered on a spiritual level, and then finding what's actually you after all this chaos that you experience. And, when you are taken apart, what's left of you, and then what's left of you in under this pressure and heat, that's who you are, and that was a very powerful experience in the very first ceremony of ayahuasca. When we had it, it was very difficult. and I was completely overwhelmed. And with all that I thought I was prepared, I wasn't really. I was just taken apart and overwhelmed and just blasted out of my brain into the cosmos, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then here I am in the middle of the universe, and the whole universe vibrates and kind of vibrates away, you know. And I feel like I'm losing the sense of self. That's it. I feel like I'm dying. I cannot hold myself together anymore. And then when I was overwhelmed with this experience, everything fell apart. And what left there, it was me. It was me, the consciousness, me, the soul, me, the awareness, whatever you want to call it. But it was the you that you know, without being able to name it.
Yeah.
And in this you, in this me, I found peace. You know, it's like being in the middle of hurricane. You're just standing and smiling. You know, you have trees flying around, cars, like a tornado, you know, you see houses goes into the sky, and you just walk your dog, you know, and you just enjoy life. That's how it felt in that moment when I reached that. But it was, of course, very difficult to come to this point, because you had to go through letting go and surrendering and all that is required for you to reach that place, you know, of understanding. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
You did, man. And right on the end of that, I just like to remark about the surrender principle. And this could kind of fill you in on where I've been with the plant medicine. So I've been writing about them for a while. I mean, it's been about 6 years now. I guess I've written a book a year for the last 6 years, basically about the journey paired up with psychedelic use to try to find meaning, obviously personally, but I was working toward this idea that this is not just a personal journey. We are all on the hero's journey of life. Our soul is progressing into what I found to be its purpose. I didn't know that when I was writing, but I kind of found that just recently. And that's why, you know, I'm interested in having these talks with others who have found their purpose. It's like, yeah, that is the universal divine treasure, finding your purpose. But to tie it back to what you capped off your statement there with, surrender. You were just saying you had to surrender in order to find that divine peace. And I love the phrase you used to find that you that you perhaps cannot name, but you just know. Yes, exactly. And of course we could find that with plant medicine usage. But I guess honestly, man, what I want to say just on this note and see what your thoughts are on it, I kind of found for myself, and I never thought I would say this. But I had enough. I had enough of the plant medicine use, and I basically realized I don't need to keep going back. I thought that the plant medicine was the treasure. You know, I thought those other dimensions, other realms, even the essence that you described, I thought that in some sense was the treasure, the experience of it. And when I began to write this out through my writings, I started to realize that through the descriptions I was giving, it wasn't able to do it justice, you know, so therefore I realized I was kind of wrong in some sense. And I started to think, well, what is a way to carry in all of these lessons into life, to import them, and then find real fulfillment, kind of like you were talking about before, to find real reality within the physical domain that we interact with most times. And then I just kind of had an epiphany, I guess, in some sense, and it was that the pursuit of your purpose can generate real fulfillment. And you see, that's why I started the show along these lines, highest and best use. But anyway, just bouncing it back to surrender. In a nutshell, man, this is what I'm saying. I found that I had to personally surrender to that highest possible value on the hierarchy of all possible values. And I am now comfortable calling that God the Father, essentially, which I know puts me sort of at odds ends with everyone in the psychedelic community, but I don't really give a rat's ass because I started this whole thing in the pursuit for truth. And so far as I have found, that is true. The intelligent, absolute goodness and ultimate truth is the creator, and that does exist. And it seems to me like if we align with thy will and not my will, we are surrendering. We are doing these things that we learn in the plant medicine ceremonies. It's just you could do it with your life too. So that's a lot, I know, but I just wanted to kind of recap you on where I'm at with everything, see what you think.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I agree with you. You know, plant medicine, it's not a life path for everyone. You know, it's a great ally, it's a great helpers for people to come to heal, to understand themselves, And maybe that's it for them, and maybe you don't need to do it again ever. Like in my case, it's a bit different because I was called to serve the medicine. It wasn't just for me to do it, to find my answers and, just get back to my life. For me, my life was the serving.
Yeah.
That's how it came. So for me, the medicine is a lifelong path.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it's for everyone. It doesn't mean that you come to Peru and you have to come here forever. I mean, it's great opportunity to reset your energy, recharge, recalibrate. It's a tune-up. It's a good.
Yeah.
We're a shop. You bring your car here. We change your oils. Filters. Make sure that everything runs well, and you go back. You know what I mean? So if your car works, then you don't have to come to the shop. So it's totally fine. It's just an opportunity to touch something higher than human,
Yeah.
and that can result in different ways in different people. It can manifest differently. It can change your life path,
Oh, I could not agree more, man. I really couldn't. And that's why I definitely did want to have you on, because all of our life paths, they are unique. And surrender to the divine plan is sort of surrendering your plans for the ability to find your purpose. And you certainly seem like a man who has found not only purpose in service to your fellow man, but home as well. So why don't you just tell me, and that's a really cool thing too. I would love to talk about back on the other side, but why don't you just tell me a little bit about right now how you are working with the plant medicines to help people get that tune-up?
Well, me and my wife, we built the retreat center here, from scratch. It was a cornfield that we just sat down. It was 12 years ago, just when we got married. And I just told her that here we will build our home and our center to have people to come and find healing from all around the world. And this was a time when I didn't have money to, buy a chicken outside, in the store. It's just, it sounds completely crazy, but she trusted me. She just felt truth in what I said, and that's how we started. And over 10 years, we built a beautiful place for people to come and stay with us and work with Wachuma, also with ayahuasca, and leave when they feel like. Just make it available in a safe, guided, caring, loving way.
That's great. That's, again, what seems to me like your path of service, and I think you would attest to that. It certainly is your purpose. You're able to, because of your unique life experiences, provide this to others in a way which is essentially good and in the light. Because just because a person is working with the plant medicines doesn't necessarily mean it's for the most pure purposes. And of course, there are those out there who are using them for nefarious ends or whatever, but you are certainly not doing that. And that's, again, I think part of surrendering to thy will. And you're able to help not only yourself with, let's say, a tool like the plant medicines, but then you could extend that to others. And that's exactly what you guys got going on. So that's just very good. Well, I would definitely like to talk about the return home as well. I mean, as we discussed previously on the show and always will, the cycle of life is nothing more, I think, in some sense, than a grand heroic cycle, which has a few basic parts, one of which is getting your call, then proceeding through your trials, finding a treasure, and ultimately you're tasked with returning that treasure home. So on the other side, we'll touch on that.
You're listening to Highest and Best Use with John M. Folak. Your doorway to infinite wisdom through the kaleidoscope of modern-day parables that will entertain you, make you think, and even enlighten you.
It is amazing, is it not?
Come share your journey by calling 702-425-9230.
Hello?
That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. Back with John M. Folak after a brief word from our sponsors.
Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, come discover the universal core to all your issues by tapping into the unseen world, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. from the metaphysical, simultaneous realities, alchemy, as well as the ascension process. The hosts of the Unseen World will take you on a roller coaster ride through the metaphysical matrix. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. The Unseen World, live Tuesdays 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Come awaken to an endless world of possibilities.
Every year around the world, thousands of golden retrievers are abused, abandoned, and neglected, and they need your help. Goldens Without Borders is a 501c3 not-for-profit company located in the heart of southern Nevada. They focus on golden retrievers in countries where neglect and mistreatment is of the worst imaginable. Even the smallest donations go a long way to saving a life and helping put these beautiful dogs into loving, forever homes. Come be a part of a network of people working hard to make the world a safer and more humane place for all living creatures. To make a donation, or if you're interested in adopting or fostering, please visit goldenswithoutborders.org. Goldens Without Borders, help make a difference today.
This is K-Core Radio, coming to you live from Las Vegas.
Woven throughout the universe are keys to a hidden message, awaiting a voice that can decipher their coded meaning, a cosmic connection to the cosmos. Tune in to the KCOR Digital Radio Network at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern for Cosmic Connection. Cosmic Connection. Cosmic Connection. Cosmic Connection with astrologers Caroline Lynch and Merlin Wizard. Your weekly astrology reading is but a phone call away. So call Cosmic Connection Sunday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and get your free reading today. Cosmic Connection with Caroline Lynch and Merlin Wizard, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Alien Deceptions, a suspenseful sci-fi romance thriller by Tina Marie, featuring the tantalizing Erica Jones and the mysterious Russell Hamilton. An out-of-this-world book of fiction based on years of document facts and files the government does not want you to know about, at least not yet. Alien Deceptions by Tina Marie. Available now at Amazon.com or get a signed copy at TinaMarieEntertainment.com. Get your copy now.
Your adventure begins right here, right now, in this very moment. As your vision quest takes you on a search of sustainable self-fulfillment. Be part of this universal experience by joining us live in chat at kcorradio.com or share your insight by calling our hotline at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers, use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Call now.
Now, back to your spiritual enlightenment with your host, John M. Bolick.
Welcome back to Highest and Best Use with Sergey Baranov. We were talking about, just before a break, that heroic return home that I'm pretty sure all of us as souls are tasked with. Finding a treasure, bringing it home, which as a metaphor could be thought of as integration, but it could also be thought of as physical home with family. So, Sergey, how did you find your physical home and your metaphysical place of home as well with your family?
Well, it all started when I entered the shamanic path, working with plant medicine, and that was in Peru. So I was traveling to Peru for about 3.5 years, working with my teacher, Don Howard. And after 3.5 years, there were a few events that kind of changed the course of my life, So that was one of the time I returned from Peru back to California, where I was living then. And then, during this time, I was also working with peyote in Mexico, with the shamans there, with the ritual shamans there. So it was like in parallel. I was doing Wachuma and ayahuasca in Peru and peyote in Mexico in parallel. So it was 2008 when I went to Mexico. It was the last time I went there. And it was just one of the normal, usual trip there, to come, to drink medicine, and go home. But it was different this time. There was... it's actually turned out to be my shamanic initiation that completely changed the course of my life, So if you like, we can talk about this now.
Please do. This is an epic story, my friend. Yeah, please unpack this one for us all, yeah.
Okay, so we went, I went there, and it was just a normal evening, just kind of routine, you get the firewoods, build the fire, and, start drinking about 9 p.m. But, this time the energy was different, and when you work with the medicine, especially with Wachuma, it teaches you read energies. You become very sensitive to energies, to people, to places. You can tell right away, and from far and immediately, like what kind of person is in front of you and what's happening in the environment. It's kind of become animalistic ability to detect it in a sense, So right away when I came, it was a bit strange and tense, very tense, a lot of tension in the air. It was actually so tense that I could probably, if I had a knife, I could just cut the air like a butter in pieces. It was that tense. And I felt like, I'm not sure about this. Maybe I just go home this time, without anything, just return. But, it's just not in my character to give up. I never was like this, So if I do something, I commit and I do to the end. It's just the way I am. So I said, okay, I'm already here, so I'm doing this. And the shaman I was with and his wife, Maria, they were tense too. It's like everybody was feeling something, but nobody understood, the cause of it, why. So I just started the fire and we started to drink, and it was like very uncomfortable energetically. And I said, okay, whatever happens, happens. I'm already here. This is what it is. You have to face whatever is there. That's just the way of the medicine. That's how it works. You can't just turn your back towards it. You have to face it. So we started to drink. Everything went just normal until midnight, and I was the fireman. My role was to keep the fire going all night. So at midnight, I was asked to, drink the water, offer it to the land, to the fire, to people involved. It's a ritual that is done at midnight and in the sunrise when the sun is out. So I've done that and just sat down, took my stick, and kind of, manage the woods in the fire, put them in different order, and I kind of was sitting there and just saying to myself out loud, peyote is real. Peyote is real, And this were my last words this night. Right after that, it was a full moon right above us, and just as I said it, like literally, I don't know, within a minute or so, I don't know. But it was like soon after, I felt sharp pain in both of my thighs, like an inch below my genitals. And there were stunts, but I didn't know what happened. I was stunned, and I jumped and whoa, I just got panicked and what happened? Is this a part of ceremony? It's like this is real now.
Yeah.
So I got stung by someone here, double. So the shaman I was with, he just told me like, don't panic, he will make it worse. But I started to panic because
Of
You're in the
course.
mountains.
Yeah.
You know, there is nothing there. You know, no hospitals. The next car comes like in 3 days. You know.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, what happened? You know, trying to understand, took my pants down, trying to see what's there. The first instinct was to take the stick, my fire stick, and, you know, burn my skin, to try to burn whatever that was there. But I realized that I was already inside, so it wouldn't help, probably, just make it worse. So while I was like running around fire naked there, and like for 20 minutes, I started feeling real sick, like real sick. And I felt like, okay, that's it, I need to lay down because this thing is coming to my throat, you know? So the venom, that was the deadly scorpions that I was stung with. And these guys are deadly in Mexico. It was coming, it was just circling in the thighs first, circling, you know, around. And then it started to come up. I could actually feel it. And it was coming up and to my throat. And I felt like, that's it. You know, that's it for me. It's like, that's not something I expected to encounter in Mexico this time around. So I just was very sick and lay down, and the hell began. So I became completely paralyzed for 18 hours. I lost my body. There was no body anymore. It just became a wood, like a piece of wood, like you're laying in a piece of wood that was your body just, you know, before like an hour earlier, you know. And it just was consciousness, just my consciousness being there, you know. I couldn't open my eyes. There was no saliva, nothing. It was just completely, the whole body was shut down, you know. I could only breathe a little bit with my nose, not even with my mouth, just with my nose, just enough to have oxygen to maintain the life, you know, maintain the brain and heart. And for the next 18 hours, it was complete hell, complete agony. I was burning and freezing at the same time. You know, it's like you just go through hell. You know, it's just physical and emotional and mental and spiritual hell. And at the end, it was already like the next night time. You know, it was already like the whole day, like the whole night, the whole day, and then it was already like near midnight probably. Like maybe 10 p.m. the next day, when I realized that I knew that I will not make through another night like this. It just will be, you know, I will just not be able to hold this. So I realized that I need to get my life back. You know, I need to fight for my life, literally fight for life. So I don't know where did I find this strength in me, you know, to start to feel my body, which started from a finger on my hand, just a little bit, like feeling, oh, you know, there is a contact. It's a very strange feeling when you don't have your body anymore and you kind of reconnect to it. It's very strange. It's like, wow, I need to relearn being my body again, you know? So it was hours, like maybe 3-4 hours or so. This was a time when I was trying to actually get my strength back and feel my body and move. I felt like I need to move, some kind of movement, you know. So maybe in an hour or two, I was already able to sit for a few seconds, and then you sit, you feel even sicker, so you have to lay down back. I mean, it's just like struggle, you know. It's like you just want to get out of this. You just want to, you know, go unconscious and wait, and then come back when it's all over. But it's not possible. You're there. You're like chained to your body. You know, there was a bond. There was a bond between consciousness and the body. It was bond through life, you know, strong bond that just was there, you know. And so I started to stand up, maybe within, I don't know, a few hours, by midnight, maybe, you know, like stand up and holding towards the building. It was a column, you know, a very simple kind of hut, you know. And then within hours, I could already, I made the first circle around this hut. And that was a great achievement. I felt like, okay, all right, that's already better, you know. I felt like maybe I will not die. This is when I got hope, like, maybe I will not die, you know.
Yeah,
so I just need to keep doing this, you know.
Yeah.
And that's already like 24 hours into the hell. So that's what I was trying to do the whole night, trying to move, trying to feel my hand, my leg, but I still couldn't open my eyes, couldn't talk, nothing. Like the whole thing was shut down. Like, I didn't know that there's this venom was neurotoxin, and it just paralyzes you. It just shuts down everything, and that's how you die, because you can't breathe. Your diaphragm cannot pump air anymore. So you have that. That's how you die, basically. So what peyote did, it just helped me to, it blocked my liver from being poisoned, and then you die in this way, and it allowed me to breathe a little bit, so I could maintain life. So there was two things there, and of course it gives me the strength to fight too. Without this, I don't know, I would make it. I would be dead for sure. It just was overwhelming. I mean, it was a lot of venom, in my blood, but at the same time I had peyote in my blood, so there was like a mix of two powerful medicines actually, in me, Mm-hmm. So it was 3 days and 3 nights of hell. That's it. It went through another day, through another night. It went through another day and another night. It's just a little bit better. I could already open a little bit the eyes. Maybe the second day I could kind of see a bit blurry. So you look and it's all blurry. It's not how you used to see the world. It's all blurry. You're very dry inside. They tried to give me water, but it felt like acid on my tongue, so I couldn't have water. That's the thing. It's just nothing. You can't intake anything. You're just there and fighting for your life, and that's it. It's like, this is it. It's like, and so the shaman kept the fire all night, and then he left, and then I kind of crawled up the hill. They were sitting there and eating some burrito and drinking coffee, Mm-hmm. and I was far from that. I just wanted to breathe and start seeing,
Yeah.
So having a burrito was like from another dimension, like an offer from another world.
Right.
I don't even understand what it means at that point, And then on the 4th morning, I felt like I made through this. Although when I was flying to California, I still felt electricity in my hands, But the body was already back. I was already kind of reassembled, So, that's how it went. And at that time, I didn't know that was my shamanic initiation, At that time, I thought it was a very unfortunate event that happened to me, And that I probably will never go there again,
Right.
So at that time, it's like, it's different perspective. It's just, you just got your life back, But these 3 days of kind of death and resurrection, man, I went through the whole life. I mean, that was a life changer, actually. I went through everything, kind of, realized the wrongs in my life and how wrongly I lived it, and all this, and how I would like to live my life. That was very important. It was like the one part was realizing that was wrong, and that was wrong, and that was wrong. But what was more important is realizing what is the right way to live life, and how you should live your life, Mm-hmm. And that took me to, it took me back to life, actually. Mm-hmm. I was always from childhood preoccupied with death, and I had fear of death, and I always thought, what's next, for me when I'm done here. So it was always like the afterlife was always a preoccupation, always like it took a lot of space in my mind,
Yeah.
And during this experience, it was during and of course after as a consequence, but even during, when my death was there, she was just sitting there waiting, not pushing, but just waiting. Kind of already, she came to pick me up, and I'm like, I'm not leaving, It was a very strong statement that I had to make. I had to make a strong, hard-based spiritual statement. It was like my mission statement that I'm not leaving. It's not my time. I just found my path basically a few years ago, and there is a walk to walk, and there's things to do. So I'm not leaving right now. So I pushed her back, literally. We just we just had a struggle somehow, you know. It was just pushing your death back, you know, and she yielded. She left, you know. So, but she also took the fear of it with her, you know. And I realized during this experience, the most important thing that, you know, it's not what's after that is important, but what's before that is important. Your life here and now is the whole point, is where it all happens. And that's what you need to, you know, to pay attention to, you know, and trying to do the best, trying to be the best version of yourself that you can, because that's what's important, that's what matters, you know, is the now, it's the spiritual now, you know, your life is the spiritual now. So I came with this very strong sense of the importance of, you know, living in the present moment, moment to moment, and in this life, you know, in general. My life is the present moment. You know, the whole life is just a present moment, just a brief moment that Sufi speaks about, you know. You really realize that. You realize that it is a moment and it can end abruptly at any time. And you don't want to face it. You don't want to face your death unprepared, in the sense that there were things you had to do, but you didn't do, you know, and you want to live in peace, live and leave, you know, live your life and leave from here in peace, with a sense of completion, in a sense of good conscience, in the sense that I have done all I had to do. I have completed my mission. I have completed my purpose. I have learned love. I have shared love, and I knew love, you know, and then you leave. So it was important. So I begin to see the life like a training. This is all training. This is all preparation for departure when, you know, it happens. But it's not. It doesn't mean that we have to wait for that moment. You know, it's not like you wait. It's not like you're looking forward to it. It will come. It's inevitable. But learning to live with love and courage and spirit and good conscience, you know, that's what's the point of this for me. That's how it appeared. That's what I understood from this experience. So after all this, I went back to California, and there were a few more events, meeting the wild owl, the hawk, the coyote. It's all the, you know, I write about in my first book. And then when the owl came, it was 5 months after Mexico, which was a story in itself. I saw, you know, I brought her home. It was a wild owl that was injured. Her, you know, wing was injured, and I found her in the field in the sunset when I went to smoke a joint and enjoy the sunset, you know. And then she just jumped at me. I'm like, whoa, what was that? You know, never saw owl like this wild, jumping at me like trying to tell me, like, help me, you know. So I took her home, and we spent the whole night together, and I tried to help her. That's the whole story by itself, you know. Took her to the vet later, and what happened there. But just here, I just want to say what I felt in her eyes, what I saw in her eyes. It was the message. I don't know if I heard this message, or I saw this message, or I felt this message. I'm not sure. It was maybe a combination of all of it. But the message was that it was my time. It was my time to move to Peru and serve the medicine, serve Huachuma medicine, you know? And I was like, okay, you know, I was waiting for the sign. You know? And that's it. I think in a week, I sold whatever I could, you know. I had a few things, you know, just got some money to buy ticket and have some pocket money. And then said goodbye to the places that I loved, and then moved to Peru to serve Huachuma medicine, because that's where the calling was coming from, you know. Although I work with peyote and I was initiated in Mexico, but I was also initiated in Peru, although not in such a dramatic way, you know. So I came here, and I realized that now here's the home, here's my place on this earth. First time I felt at home, physically and metaphysically.
Right.
And 7 months later, I met my wife on the
man.
bus station in the day that none of us had to be there. That's just another story,
Wow.
And
so you found home first and then met your wife? That's amazing.
Yes.
Man.
First I had to make the commitment to walk my path.
Right.
I came to Peru to serve Huachuma.
Right.
That was my purpose. And then when I made this commitment and came to Peru, I met my wife, and then we started a family, and I found my human completion here. Through the medicine. It was through the medicine. The medicine led me to it. So that's how it all turned out, and the shaman in Mexico actually told me that will happen. Once in ceremony, I asked him, like, where is my woman? Mm-hmm. I know she's somewhere because I feel a need, I'm human, and it's important to to fulfill human needs,
For sure.
So I wanted to find my woman, and he said, you will find her on your path.
Oh, wow.
That's it. That's what he said. Yeah. And I found her a year later when I moved to Peru after all those events. I mean, it was just incredible when I look back and see how, how the spirit works. It's just like, wow. I mean, you just in awe, in admiration,
In awe. Yeah, it almost can bring you to your knees. It's been doing that similarly with my journey lately. But yeah, that's an epic telling you had right there, man, just of having your near-death experience, your shamanic initiation, receiving the message through the spirit animal. I had a really similar one recently for myself too. It came through an animal. And then bam, you found home and your wife. So Sergey, thank you very much for being here and sharing your epic story. Where can people find out more about you and your work and what you're doing with the center?
Huachumawasi.com, that's my website, and I also started an Instagram page where I entertain people daily with pictures and quotes, so at Huachumawasi.
Perfect. Yeah, and you have beautiful pictures of the area there and the geography and everything, and obviously we're linked up on Instagram, so I see that from time to time. So yeah, just one more time, man, thank you very much for being here. I hope there was takeaway value that was provided by our conversation here for everyone out there, because I think Sergey would agree with me here, or at least I'll go so far as to say that most of my path has been to explore and then to put forth whatever universal value I have found to be true or true enough as a workable truth forth to my fellow man so that they could then test it out for themselves, step into those waters, see if it works, see if it doesn't, but all the while the idea is to grow in truth as much as is possible. And there are common denominators that just emerge through our stories, such as Sergey outlined, the dark night of the soul, literally through his near-death experience there, which is essentially unimaginable if you've not gone through something like that. And then the rise, which from there led him to the return home, metaphysical and physical, where he found his wife and family. And that's just a beautiful note to end on, because I think we can all find that peace and that love. So that's the task. Why don't we all get on it? Until next time. Peace, y'all.
This has been Highest and Best Use, an exploration into consciousness, archetypes, as well as the collective unconsciousness, and so much more. Hosted by John M. Folick. Live every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on John, his show, as well as guests, please visit his website at johnmfolick.com. Highest and Best Use. Hosted by John M. Folick. An exploration into consciousness through an everyman mythological lens. The new KCOR, because Vegas won't settle for anything less but the best. News, weather, music, and talk for the next millennium.